J.D. Vance looks at Donald Trump every day and thinks today could be the day that I'm the president. Trump is dying.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. Get ready for part 2 with Steve Schmidt. The organization he helped found, Save America Movement, is barely a year old, and it is already redefining what taking on MAGA should look like. This week, Save America Movement released an ad blitz targeting specific enablers of the Trump regime, not just those in government like J.D. Vance, but the billionaires and the sycophants who have bent the knee and empowered this fascist regime. Here's one of them.
This is the face of capitulation and bad judgment. Brad Karp has gutted Paul Weiss, a respectable 150-year-old law firm with a storied legacy of helping the cause of justice. Paul Weiss handled landmark cases like Thurgood Marshall and Brown versus Board of Education and securing a landmark marriage equality victory for Edith Windsor. Since Trump threatened them with retribution via executive order, they're now doing his bidding and giving him $40 million worth of free work. Karp defended his bad judgment to staff, saying it was necessary to prevent the firm's destruction. But Brad Karp's bad judgment doesn't end there. He had dealings with convicted child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. He turned Paul Weiss into Paul Weiss Epstein. The disgrace will last forever.
This is what going on offense looks like. If we're serious about regime change in this country, we need to undermine the pillars that support the regime. And Steve Schmidt knows how to do it. If you don't know him, Steve was once one of the most influential figures in the Republican Party. He has long since defected and is now one of the most powerful anti-Trump voices out there. And let me just say, we are lucky to have Steve on our side because his attacks on MAGA and Trump's enablers will be relentless. Here's part 2 of our conversation.
I want everyone to understand this. Our Constitution gives temporary power with profound limits placed on it that these people serve at our discretion. They work for us. We're starting a next ad campaign where we will put ads up that geofence the federal courthouse where Judge Janine is operating. And what those ads will say is the federal prosecutor, the Fox News wino, is completely corrupt. Pam Bondi is completely corrupt. And they are going to try to manipulate you good American citizens into indicting Donald Trump's political opponents. And we're going to teach them a word and concept through the advertising. That word is nullify. Nullify the attempts to lock up Donald Trump's opponents by doing what the 20 good citizens did when they said no thanks to the indictments of Mark Kelly, Alyssa Slotkin, and Jason Crow.
I want to ask you about that because you talked to Jason Crow last week when the grand jury threw out the or refused to indict. And it seems to me like this administration didn't realize what they were doing when they tried to take on a former Army Ranger with 90 combat missions, a man who flew intruders and sat on top of a rocket, and a CIA agent with time in a flak jacket in Iraq. What were they thinking? I guess they're just in the habit of people capitulating, of institutions rolling over and giving them what they want. But they picked the wrong fight in Congressman Crow and Senators Slotkin and Kelly. And those are the examples of courage that we need to share with the rest of the country.
One of the great presidential aides of all time worked for John Kennedy, Kenny Donnelly. And his mission in life was to be the first person into the Oval Office every day to tell the president he was full of shit about something. And that's a very important person in any White House around power, around any president. There were plenty of meetings that I was in, talking to a member of Congress or a senator before when, that person told me what it is they were going to say to the president in the Oval Office or what it was they were going to say to the vice president. And by the time they walk into the office, trust me, they don't say it. What they do is ask for cufflinks for their kids. And everybody needs to understand this about MAGA, how it's organized. It's a line. And in that line that starts with Trump, J.D. Vance is second in line, and then you have Corey Lewandowski and all those people behind it. But each person has a knife in one hand for the back and front of them, and they have eyes in the back of their head for the knife in the hand behind them. At the beginning of the Ukraine war, there was a Russian tank crew that was out of gas. 3 guys in the tank. They had 2 shells, and you're watching a video of them about to be killed. And so you think about that. That's the end of the chain. That's the end of the line. You have these 3 schmoes in a tank with no gas in a country that's not theirs with 2 shells. Everything that they needed to survive was stolen by someone further up the line. And there is no ambitious person in that line who gets ahead by telling Donald anything that he doesn't want to hear. And so you have a guy who went crazy in the Oval Office about the disrespect he's shown and throwing his ham sandwich, right, sticking it into the wall. He's completely unhinged, and he's surrounded by sycophants. And so Pam Bondi doesn't have contact with normal people. You read the story about Kristi Noem and Corey Lewandowski in the Wall Street Journal, where there's a Coast Guard pilot who is fired because he forgot to pick up Kristi Noem's blanket from one plane to another. Then he's rehired because there's no one to fly the plane, and she's flying around in a 737 MAX, a business jet, with a bedroom in the back where she's banging Corey Lewandowski on the taxpayer dollar. The insanity of this, the depravity of this, the corruption of all of it is these people believe their own bullshit. They believe that they're all Trump. And they believe that today is going to last forever. And that tomorrow never comes. Tomorrow's coming. Pam Bondi, in a year, is going to be facing a Democratic Congress. And within 3 years, she will never hold a position of power again. She'll be unemployable. I expect that Trump will pardon these people, but they will not have immunity from state prosecutions. They will not have immunity from investigations. They're going to spend every day of the rest of their lives being investigated. Every email, every decision is going to be looked at. And it's going to be studied for years, for the rest of her life. And she will be shunned. Imagine Carolyn Leavitt's life when she's our age. Because she's 27, she can't comprehend this basic reality. The days are long, but the years are short. She doesn't have an appreciation for time, but she's going to live in disgrace in this country. And people will see these people occasionally somewhere. They're not going to be on private jets. They're not going to be on the Mar-a-Lago patio. They will be out amongst us. And when people see them, they're going to have the reaction to these people like other oppressed people have had to their tormentors in other countries. And there's a lot of examples of what happens to those people. And so the people who have joined Trump and have done what they have done and partaken in the dollars, the Bitcoin, the crypto, the chip deals, selling out our security. Every bit of it, all of it is going to be known, and there will be accountability. Let's be clear about something. It's America or Trump. They win or we do. It's zero sum. It's either we're going to be locked up or there's going to be accountability.
I've felt this pressure for years to constantly replace clothes as trends change or seasons shift, especially with outerwear and layers. Stuff that looks fine at first, but once you actually rely on it, cold mornings, long days, travel, it just doesn't hold up. And that's frustrating. This time of year, a good hoodie is essential. It's something you reach for over and over again. But finding one that's genuinely warm, comfortable, and built to last isn't easy. That's why I wear American Giant. Their classic full zip hoodie feels different the moment you put it on. The fabric has real weight to it. The construction is solid. It's made with the assumption that you're actually going to live in it, not just wear it a few times and move on. And it's built to last a lifetime. Slate magazine famously called it the greatest hoodie ever made, and that reputation is earned. From the cotton to the zipper, it's made right here in the USA. What I appreciate most about American Giant is the quality and durability. Every detail feels intentional. The heavyweight fleece, the side panels that give you mobility, the reinforced elbows, the double-lined hood. It has a clean fit that works whether you're traveling, working, or just trying to stay warm. And the more you wear it, the better it gets. Softer, more comfortable, more yours. American Giant obsesses over the details, and they're deeply committed to the communities that make their products. Everything is made in America, no exceptions. They make staples that are anything but basic, like the premium Slub Crew tee and the No BS high-rise and slim roughneck pants featured in Giant magazine. For me, clothing quality matters more than just looking good. I want pieces I can count on year after year. American Giant delivers that, and you feel the difference every time you put it on. This season, snag the hoodie that will bring you comfort for life, the American Giant Classic Full Zip, and save 20% off your first order at AmericanGiant.com when you use code KEN at checkout. That's 20% off your first order at AmericanGiant.com, code KEN. It's Ken Harbaugh with a quick break to tell you about something new coming to the MeidasTouch network. Midas Defense, serious coverage of the military, national security, and real threats at home and abroad. No spin, no talking points, just expert voices and on-the-ground reporting. Check out Midas Defense, coming soon to the MeidasTouch network. I got to ask you about the last ad, which is in some ways the most insightful, and it's the one about J.D. Vance, who seems the most calculated among them, who of all of them, might be the only one to see beyond the next 3 years, but in a deeply sinister way that we're taking advantage of at Save America movement because he's the guy Donald Trump has the most to fear.
Jeffrey Epstein, the Epstein files.
J.D. Vance used to demand the Epstein files a lot, everywhere, with confidence.
We need to release the Epstein list.
Then J.D. saw the files, and he hasn't said a word. J.D. knows Donald Trump's name is everywhere, 38,000 times. He knows photos exist. He knows what's written, what's documented, what can't be explained away. Children were raped, untold crimes committed, pure evil. J.D. is many things, but he isn't stupid. J.D. Vance will not defend you, Donald. Not now, not ever again. You know J.D. dreams of the Oval Office, so silence is his strategy. J.D. is one heartbeat from the presidency, and the Epstein files could be the end. J.D. knows when the monitor goes flat, power changes hands.
J.D. Vance looks at Donald Trump every day and thinks today could be the day that I'm the president. You know, Trump is dying. You look at his physical condition. You look at the droop in his face. You look at the ankles. You look at the temperament. You look at the sundowning every night. J.D. Vance knows that he's likely to be president. And so that's why he is nowhere to be found in the middle of all of this Epstein madness and insanity. He knows that the idea that there won't be elections is a fantasy. There will be elections. He knows he'll be running in a Republican primary. He knows he won't be running unopposed. And he knows that Trump ultimately will become an enormous liability. And so Trump is surrounded by people who fear him, who try to use him, who have deep contempt for him because he debases them. People who get on their knees as slaves typically don't like the master. And the person who's closest to him is the person who usually hates him the most. You know, as the old saying goes, is no lord is a hero to his valet, and that's what J.D. Vance is. And so he's a fraud, a California Yale Billy, who has played, frankly, a lot of blue America with the Meemaw story and everything else. He's not from the hollers of West Virginia and Kentucky. He's from Eastern Ohio. He's not a hillbilly, doesn't have a hillbilly accent. He's an Ivy League kid, and he's completely full of shit. And that guy, who is a project of Peter Thiel, has a real fanaticism in his heart, a real conviction. He is a fascist. He is an ideological opponent to democracy, and he's talked about that. So J.D. Vance has none of Trump's demagogic skill, all of his latent corruption, and all of his evil. He won't be able to hold that coalition together. But you can watch J.D. Vance and you can see clearly what he's worried about being stuck on him, what stench is going to linger. And you can see that it's the Epstein stuff.
We're going to put links to all of the videos in the notes below. Steve, thanks for joining us, and we'll keep checking in on the Save America movement.
My pleasure. Always good to be with you, Ken.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.